Welcome to Alasquatch, the show all about Bigfoot in the great state of Alaska. I'm your host, Beans Baxter. So lace up your boots, zip up your coat, and come with me on an adventure as we explore all things cryptid in the last frontier. Hello everybody and welcome to the 2023 Alasquatch Halloween edition special episode. Yeah. So today, and sorry about the ambiance, I am recording this during the day, as you can probably see out my sunny window here. For those of you watching the video portion of this, it just worked out that way. I wanted to record it at night, and some scheduled things happened and got delayed and pushed around. So here we are in the middle of the day recording a Halloween episode. Wasn't really sure what to do this year. I've kind of been toying around with some ideas for what to do. I've said, I think probably since the beginning, since I started doing Alasquatch and since I started doing especially the Halloween episodes, I always said I wanted to do a ghost hunt, like go to a haunted location in Alaska and do a ghost hunt. And basically every year I'm like, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to do it this year. And the window for, if I'm going to do it, I actually need to do it either in September or the beginning of October. And the window always passes me by to where I can like feel comfortable trying to get it in. But next year I've put contingency plans in place to basically light a fire under me and get me to do that, to find a venue, which I have a place in mind, but we'll see if they're keen on it, to go in and maybe do a ghost hunt. We'll see. I'm thinking about trying to get some other people involved. We'll see how it goes. It just kind of depends on how the venue responds and who's interested, who can make it, scheduling, stuff like that. But next year is going to be the year. You guys are gonna like see me look for ghosts, I guess. So we'll see. It'll be a little bit different. It'll be out of my comfort zone, I guess. Not that I guess I'm entirely comfortable looking for Bigfoot, but you know what I'm saying. So it'll be a new experience. I'll try some new things. Maybe I can get some new equipment or borrow some equipment from some ghost hunters. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's what I want to do for the next Halloween special. And maybe if I tell you guys I'm going to do it, maybe that will be an extra layer of motivation for me. Like I said, I've already put some things in motion where like I'm supposed to be reminded around the time that I need to do it. So we'll see. This episode, it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more personal. I wanted to talk about 3 of the scariest Alaska Bigfoot encounters that I have come across in my research or found in my perusal of Alaskan Bigfoot encounters. And then at the end of the episode, I've got a little treat for you, or a trick, I guess, depending on how you feel about it. We're going to play a game. And so it's going to be a Bigfoot trivia game. And you can either play it by yourself, along with me, or if you want to wait and play along with your friends, or maybe use it for a game at a Halloween party or something like that, I'll let you know before we get into it. And you can either play along or you can pause it and pick it up if you're in a party setting. And it's real simple. You just maybe need something to jot down some answers to. I'll give some questions, and then I'll give you a chance to pause the game, and then we'll go through and we'll answer the questions. It's 10 questions, and then I threw in an extra one for a tiebreaker because there is an even number of questions. So we'll do that. Other than that, I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. Halloween's on a Tuesday this year, which is kind of a bummer. Uh, I guess all the Halloween parties and stuff are probably going to go on this weekend. Hopefully, this will be out before the Halloween weekend. I'm gonna try. I'm trying. I'm gonna try to get it out. And yeah, what else is going on other than we've been watching our scary movies. We have our movie night usually every weekend, and we've been watching some scary movies. I watched a new, to me, movie the other day on Hulu called what's it called? No One Can Save You. And I don't know. I think I've talked about it in other Halloween specials. I don't think I've really talked about it on the like show proper before. But aliens are kind of one of my bugaboos. I don't like aliens. I don't like the Greys, the communion type aliens. I had a very visceral reaction to seeing the cover of the book the first time. The movie scared the hell out of me. And I was scared of E.T. too when I was a kid. I think we mentioned that before. So I knew that this movie was gonna freak me out, and it did. It was definitely pretty scary. But then spoilers. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'll give you my impressions of the ending. Did not care for the ending at all. I felt like it could have went. They didn't necessarily have to take it a different direction, but they could have ended it slightly differently and made a much better movie, in my opinion. Some of you might have loved it the way it ended. For me, not a big fan of the ending. I understand how it ended and why it ended the way it did, but I would have done it just a little different. So, yeah. Otherwise, though, it was a brilliant movie. I thought it was amazing. Um, I didn't realize from the trailers, but there's not really. It's almost a silent movie. There's hardly any words spoken at all, and the words that are spoken are kind of, in the moment. Like she's, like the protagonist is trying to get in her car, and she's like, "Oh shit, hurry up! Come on!" And you can't really even hear it. The only reason I even knew words were spoken is because they showed up on the subtitles. Because I watch a lot of movies with subtitles. I think I just keep the setting on. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't detract from. I know some people just find it very distracting. But yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think about the ending, because just fell flat for me. I don't know. It was almost like I've said this. I'm going to offend somebody with this. I said Stephen King, amazing writer, great writer. Until it comes to endings, the guy cannot stick a landing. Just say, at least not in any of his new. Now, the books he wrote when he was on drugs are excellent, but most of his modern books, they'll start out good, have a good middle, and then toward the end, it just, I don't know. I haven't read one of his books in a long time, just kind of because of that. So I know there's some hardcore probably Stephen King fans that are like, "You're out of your mind. He's brilliant." And I don't disagree that he's brilliant, but the guy really, in my opinion, just hasn't really had a satisfying ending in a long time in a book. It seems like he kind of runs out of steam. I don't know if he's just. I know he's kind of a slow writer. I don't know if he just writes till he's up against the deadline and just this will work. I don't know, but yeah. But anyway. Halloween time is here. I want to talk about some scary Alaska-specific Bigfoot encounters. And I kind of, I went back and I was thinking about some of the ones I'd heard about, trying to decide which ones to spotlight here. And these are kind of the three that came to mind. I'm just going to kind of go over them real quick and discuss kind of why I feel they're scary. Some of them may, to you, just sound like typical Bigfoot encounters. But this one, I think, is it's an oldie but a goodie. The version that I'm reading from is David Weatherly's Monsters of the Last Frontier. If you remember, I actually had him on here to talk about this not long after it was published. It's a collection of monsters and myths and legends from Alaska. It's a very good book, very comprehensive. And this is the story of the glacial demon, which I guess it's probably up for debate whether it's a Bigfoot or not. We don't really know what it is. I think in some accounts it's been maybe hinted toward that this is just some type of feral human or a person. So this story, which is believed to be true because it comes from an Army captain from the 2nd U.S. Infantry who was sent up to Alaska during the gold rush, and he got to Valdez in 1899, and he was talking to some of the miners in the town there, and he describes them, which it's typical. The Army sends you places you don't want to go. I think he probably didn't want to go. He gets here, and he sees all these miners. They're in pitiful shape. They're suffering from scurvy. They're not getting proper nutrition. They're dehydrated. They're just having a hard time. And if you look into the history of the gold rush, and all the stuff that went on in the Klondike era, Yukon, it's some fascinating history. But he gets Captain Abercrombie gets there. He starts talking to these guys, and he mentions in his writing, he calls them. Let me see if I can find the wording here. He doesn't call them deranged. He calls them. Oh no, he does. He says more or less mentally deranged, and a lot of that is from the story that he hears about this glacial demon. So these and keep in mind, these are miners that came up here for the gold rush. So they've seen some stuff. Like, they had to get up here without planes, without trains. They've walked the gold rush. They basically come up here with wagons, horses, whatever else they could get a hold of. Maybe if they're lucky, some of them got up here on boats. But so these are hardy men, and they're telling Captain Abercrombie about this demon. And this one gentleman, who he calls a Swede, which I assume he means is Swedish, he said, "You've heard." No, I'm sorry, that's terrible. He said. Okay. He said that him and his son were traveling up this glacier. I assume they were going to look for gold. They were looking for a claim. I don't know if they actually had a claim or they were trying to find one. And the son, I guess, is pulling this sled. The father is behind. I don't know if it's like a dog sled type apparatus. It's not really explained. But the son is ahead. He's pulling. The father's behind. He's pushing the sled, and this thing. The wind's blowing. The weather's bad. It's basically a storm, and this glacial demon, comes out of the mist, the blowing snow, and pounces on the son. And I guess the weather conditions were so bad, the father couldn't even see what was going on. He just hears his son like yelling for help, just a few feet ahead, I guess, at the head of this sled. The father runs around, finds this thing on his son. I guess trying to, with his hands around his throat. So whatever it was, apparently had at least hands. Most bears don't try to strangle their prey. So it makes me think that this is not some type of a bear. And so the father, who Abercrombie describes as a strapping man, which I assume back in the day that was code for he's swole, he's built. Captain Abercrombie says that the Swede and the son, they fight this creature off. They get it off of him, and it runs off. It retreats into the blowing snow. They pick themselves up. The son picks himself up. He's, oh God, I'm okay. Let's get out of here. So they hook the sled back up to the sun, and they take off. And they travel a little bit more, a little further, and it comes back. This glacial demon comes back, pounces on the sun. Again, I don't know, it was fascinated with the sun. Maybe it had something to do with the size. Like I said, he referred to the Swede, the father, the older gentleman, as strapping. Maybe the sun was not as big, so therefore was not seen as as much of a threat to the glacial demon. I don't know. But this time, despite the father's best efforts, this thing strangles his son. I think the father is eventually able to run it off, to get it out of there. He throws his son's body on the sled, and I guess they give up their trek and head back to town. Again, Captain Abercrombie is like, these people are crazy. There's no way that happened. I don't believe it. And all the fellow prospectors are like, no, it happened. We've seen this demon. We know that he's up there, and they confirmed the Swede story. I know there's been some, I guess, speculation that the Swede killed his own son in a fit of rage, or he was mad at him. But who knows? It's when you have those kind of collaborating witnesses who maybe they didn't witness what happened, but they've seen this thing in the past. Um, it's possible, or maybe he did kill his son, and he just had a convenient patsy in this glacial demon. So that's my first scary Bigfoot encounter. And the reason, again, it's an oldie but a goodie. The reason I say it's scary is because it actually results in death. There's not enough description of the demon for me to confidently place it in the Bigfoot category. So if someone said, do you know of an account where a Bigfoot murdered a person? I don't know if I would include that one in there, just because it is so ambiguous. It could be another miner that's gone mad, that's gone to nature, is a Wendigo type situation where he's just trying to kill somebody to take their supplies or even eat them. But yeah, it's pretty creepy when you think about it. When you're traveling along, you're already putting up with the elements, which are one of the major challenges here, and now you got to contend with this thing, whatever it is, and then for it to actually take a life, let alone the life of a family member or your son, and then you've got to make the trek by yourself back to town. I can only imagine what type of fear that would put somebody in. Quite terrifying if you think about it. And I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been some kind of a movie, or at least a series or something about that, about some gold rush era miners running into the unknown creatures in the mountains. But that was our first story. I hope you thought it was kind of creepy. And I'm going to take a little break here, and when we come back, I'm going to get into our second story for the 2023 Alasquatch Halloween special. All right, we're back. So I'm going to take little breaks now and get a sip of a drink. I've always drank my soda, or actually Arj Rockstar, while I was recording, but I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to wean myself off of that and be a little bit more professional, I guess. So took a little break, and I'll take another one when I'm done with this story. This one comes from Brushes with Bigfoot from J. Robert Alley. He is the author of Raincoat Sasquatch as well, if you're familiar with that book. I recommend you pick this one up as well. And this story is called A Scary Night on the Stikine. I'm not sure if it's Stikine or Stikine. Stikine River. I guess I should have looked that up to how. I don't know if I could have found out how to pronounce it or not. These two gentlemen. This took place in 1985, and there were two gentlemen who were going to go hunting. This is southeast Alaska, and they were going to go hunting, and they loaded up their little boat, like a little, I don't know what you would call it, like just a little boat, not a big boat. It has a little outboard motor on it, like a little skiff, and they head out to this place where they're going to go hunt. Well, they have a mishap, and the gentleman operating the boat, he messes up the prop. The motor ends up, it's unusable. They can't use the motor. They don't have any paddles, which I don't know why you wouldn't have paddles in a boat like that. It boggles my mind. But anyway, they didn't. I guess it was the 80s. Things probably, no seat belts, kids standing up in cars, riding in the back of trucks, stuff like that. I guess it was more of a, if we die, we die. It'll be fine. And so they're just drifting, and they manage to, using their arms, they manage to paddle to a nearby island called Dry Island. And they get there. It's starting to get dark. They secure the boat, and they set up this little tarp tent that they have, which, being 85, I can only imagine it was probably it was probably terrible. It was probably barely keeping out water. They set up this tent. They start a fire, and they're just kind of sitting around, ruining the day. Just, oh God, And if you've ever had a bad day, fishing or hunting, where you broke something or something bad happened, you kind of know where they're coming from. And by this time it's dark. They're sitting around the fire. They're eating their sandwiches that they had, and they're giving each other a hard time. And the one guy says something to the guy that was driving the boat, like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to back up like that and hit that rock? Why did you have to do that? And I guess they sit there in silence for a few more minutes, and they hear, out in the darkness, past the firelight, they hear this deep voice be like, why did you have to do that? And they kind of look at each other, and they're like, did you hear that? That wasn't an echo. And he's like, no, that was like 2 minutes ago I said that. There's no way that's an echo. So they look in the direction where they heard this mimicking coming from, and they see a pair of red eyes, and then they see another pair of red eyes, and then they see another pair of red eyes. So they end up seeing like 7 pairs of red eyes standing off in the distance. And of course, they get freaked out, obviously. Not only is there something watching them outside the light of the fire, apparently whatever it is, it mimicked one of the members of the party there. So obviously they're pretty disturbed. And one of the gentlemen is urging the other, like, shoot them. And I'm not sure exactly which gentleman was which, but one of them had, I guess, a cooler head and was like, no, we don't want to shoot this. We don't know what it is. We probably shouldn't be firing at it. And I guess they have a little stare down standoff there for a little bit. Finally, one of them, I'm not sure if it was probably the one that refused to shoot them, finally fires a shot over the eyes, like a warning shot. And then I believe he ends up firing 2 shots. And the eyes, they said that the eyes either blinked out or turned away. He said, but none of the eyes went down. Like, it was not like an animal, like a bear or a canine or something. How when they stand up, they'll set down and then wander off. And he said none of the eyes ever went down. They never lowered. They either blinked or they turned. They like blinked and then they were gone, or they turned and were gone. But none of them like went down and disappeared. And he said it freaked him out so bad that they didn't sleep that night, and they never left the light of the fire. And if they needed fire or needed fuel for the fire, they would get it from just like in that. They would only go as far as they absolutely had to get it, and one would like cover the other one, with a rifle while he was getting the firewood. Freaked him out pretty bad, understandably. And I like that story because it's got the reason why I picked it for my scariest Bigfoot encounters in Alaska. It's just because it's such an Alaskan story where you have these guys, they're on a boat, they're in the middle of nowhere. Shit goes down. It's 85. They don't have satellite phones. Probably at the best case scenario, they could have had like a VHF radio. They can't get any. I mean, you got to be your own first responder. You got to be your own rescue, in charge of your own rescue. They get themselves over to Dry Island. They're already having a bad day, and then that happens. They hear something off in the distance. It's mimicking them, and then here they are. There's no escape. They can't get out of there, especially not at night, and they've just kind of got to circle the wagons and hope that nothing comes out of the darkness and tries to do them harm. And then you've got the mimicking. That is creepy on a whole nother level. Reminds me of like The Predator, where you would hear somebody in the movie say something, and then you hear the Predator, like mimicking it in the background. Like I think it was in the part 2 where he's like, "Want some candy?" or something, where the little kid asks him if he wants candy, and it's just very unsettling, and it makes you wonder, like, what's the purpose of that? Is it just, oh, that's a funny noise or sound coming out of that thing, I want to see if I can make it too? Or is it trying to lure them over there, like I'm just going to do what they do and maybe they'll come over here thinking it's another person? So it's pretty creepy when you think about it in that regard. It's some unsettling behavior, to say the least. Luckily those guys, they did stick by the fire. They didn't go wandering off. It makes you wonder what would have happened maybe if they had gone to investigate, or even fired at the eyes like the one gentleman wanted to. How would that encounter have ended? They did seem to disperse at the sound of the gunfire, so maybe that means they could have been harmed by the gunfire. Who knows? But I think that's a pretty creepy encounter. It's something that we can't control when or how that encounter is going to happen if you ever have one. But that's definitely not what I want to experience. I don't want to be sitting around, even if I have the means to escape, I don't want to be sitting around the campfire and saying something and then hearing what I just said mimicked like outside the firelight. That just sounds so creepy and doesn't sound fun at all. It doesn't sound like something I want to happen. But yeah, that's my second scary Alaska Bigfoot encounter. And I'm going to take another quick break. I'm going to wet my palate, cleanse my palate here, and I'm going to come back with our third and final scary Bigfoot story for the 2023 Alasquatch Halloween special. All right, so we are back with the third and final scary Alaska Bigfoot encounter for the Alasquatch Halloween special here. This one does not come from a book. This one actually comes from a newspaper called the Delta Discovery. This is an article I'm sure you can find for yourself. The Delta Discovery actually has a hairy man section in the paper or online where you can read some of these stories. This was published July 18th, 2018. It's called Bigfoot Follows Women During Night Ride. It's written by K.J. Lincoln. It's kind of, and I wanted to throw in a note here. There's like a little creepy illustration here that goes with it. It looks like it's kind of hand drawn, but then under the heading, or not the heading, but the caption, it says illustration by AI, and this was in 2018. I didn't realize they were doing AI illustrations in 2018. I thought that was a relatively new thing. I don't know. I am I am out of touch. So this story, it comes from, I believe she's anonymous. They just kind of refer to her as the lady. And this occurred back in the 1990s. It doesn't say exactly when. This woman is from Bethel. And in the 90s, her and her younger sister, they were traveling from Snow Machine uh, to Bethel from one of the villages on the outskirts of Bethel, which I understand there's a few. The sister was driving the Snow Machine, and the witness, or the lady who's telling the story, was riding on the back of the sled, or in the back in the sled. It says in the sled, so I don't know if the Snow Machine was pulling a sled or if she was riding on the back of the Snow Machine, because people call Snow Machines sleds up here. So I don't know if that means she was riding like tandem on the back of the Snow Machine, or if the Snow Machine was pulling a sled. It says it was night. I'm going to read this one a little bit more verbatim than I did the other ones, just because it's such a good account. It says it was nighttime. The moon was full and bright, illuminating the frozen tundra. Stars shone in the sky, and there was not a cloud in sight. The lady riding in the sled had been wearing glasses, but took them off because they kept fogging up. I know that pain for sure. They were about halfway to Bethel, and then her sister stopped the Snow Machine and said, "Look." And she looked in the same direction as her sister and saw somebody waving their arms from a distance away. She thought maybe it might have been her brother. I don't know why. So she tells the driver of the Snow Machine they should go over there. And the sister said, "No, you should put your glasses on and take another look." So she puts her glasses on, and she says, "I saw." There's some native phrases in this story. I'm not even going to try with that one. It's a phrase I've not heard, but it says a large, tall, person-like creature, which I assume is their name for Bigfoot. So it says her heart flooded with pain, fright, and shock. She tells her sister, "Go, go, go." So the sister, hits the gas, and they take off. And the lady maybe she was in a sled. She says she was so creeped out that she got some of the rope from the sled that was tied to the sled and wraps it around her wrist, securing herself to it just in case. So she's already thinking like, this thing is gonna come get me. So they said the creature was less than half a mile away, and they could see clearly in the moonlight. And she said it was plain to see it was a Bigfoot. It was very large. It was running at the same speed as our Snow Machine. Even when we were going fast, it stayed with us. She said it seemed to be twice her feet, about 10 feet tall. That seems a bit tall for me. That's about the max, I would say. That's got to be the max they would probably get. Anything more than that. I've heard like these stories of giants and stuff that are like 15 feet tall. I don't know that I buy into those, but 10 feet tall is on the top range, I would think, for one of these things. That would actually probably be like very rare, like somebody like Shaq or somebody to us. So it said when we went downhill, it followed us. It was running, and when we would go up, it would go up too. But on the climb up, it was gone. She said the Bigfoot-like giant had roamed with them for about 10 to 15 minutes before disappearing a rise in the tundra. At that point, sister wanted to stop for some reason, but the sister in the sled urged her to keep going. When they got to Bethel, they went to the sister's home, and the older sister told the younger sister that they should keep it to themselves and not tell anybody. She said, "Don't talk about it or people will think we're crazy. They won't believe us." It said, and then out of the blue, after that night, people were saying that there was a sighting of a Bigfoot. She said it was even on the radio and everyone was talking about Bigfoot. "My sister and I looked at each other and we thought no one would believe," she recalled, laughing. Looking back to that night, the creature had posed no threat. She said it was only following them, but running parallel on a parallel path. It had run at a pace and distance that was impossible for a human. If I had heard it from somebody else, I would doubt it very much, she said. But now I believe in them, and I'm glad we are not the only ones to have seen it. And that's the story from the Delta Discovery. Um, I like that story, and again, like one of the reasons why I picked that one, it has a lot of elements almost from the last story where you have someone in a remote location. There's two people, and they see something, and they're freaked out. Uh, the thing that bothers me about this one, and I don't see bothers like makes me skeptical of it, but bothers me as in like actually disturbs me, is that it was waving its hands, and why would it do that? Is that something that's seen? Because when you're out somewhere and you see somebody, and you wave your hand, hey, look at me, can you see me? Uh, that's a you're either wanting them to know you're there, or you're trying to get their attention so they will come to you. Like, hey, I'm over here. Come over here with me too. So it makes me wonder if that's something that it had seen maybe hunters or other people out do, and think if I wave my arms, they're going to come closer. Is that some kind of attractant, some kind of luring technique? And much like the mimicking, is it like that? And then there you have the portion of the story where the sister wants to stop, and the one that driving the snow machine, she wants to stop, and the other sister's like, no, 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 we got to keep going. And if you listen to enough podcasts or stories about paranormal stuff, you always hear about what's called like paranormal apathy, and it's where somebody will see or experience something like really crazy, like they'll see a Bigfoot or a UFO or a ghost or just something crazy, and they're just kind of like, huh, yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna go to bed now, and they just ignore it and go on about their day or just do whatever they were doing. And it makes me wonder almost if it wasn't some form of that, where she's just like, okay, we saw Bigfoot. I guess I'm gonna stop and I want to stop and have some coffee or something now, or I want to eat my sandwich. Not like we got to get the hell out of here because that thing could still be out there. So it's very scary, especially if you think about it. It sounds like maybe they were unarmed. It doesn't sound like they had any weapons. And then the one sister was actually grabbing the rope and lashing herself to the sled. Because she didn't say it outright in the story, but we all know that, especially the natives, that the Bigfoot have a reputation for trying to take people. I'm not sure if it's the same story or not. See, this is the story that I found, but I was thinking there was another story where there were two women on a snow machine, and there was a Bigfoot that was chasing them, and it was actually very close. Like they were looking behind them, and it was reaching for them. But this is the story I found instead, so I don't know if I am misremembering this story or if there's another story out there where somebody was actually chased by a Bigfoot, and it was much closer. It sounded like in that story, and it was actually like reaching out for them, trying to snatch one of them off the machine. So once I found this story, I kind of stopped looking because I was like, oh, this must be it. But maybe there's another telling of the story, and it's a little bit more dramatized. I don't know. But yeah, that was it. Those are my three scariest Alaska Bigfoot encounters. They all kind of have, similar themes. People out in the middle of nowhere, being besieged, and there's no escape. And that's one of the things about Alaska. A lot of times there's no escape. If you're lucky, maybe you have a snow machine or a boat. But sometimes that's just not enough to get out of the woods or the bush or wherever you're at, and you're pretty much at the nature or at the mercy of nature or whatever you're being besieged by. So there's a lot of scary stuff in Alaska. Take Bigfoot out of the equation, and there's a lot of scary stuff out here. Just the other day, we were taking the dogs for a walk, and there had been some work going on in the right of way. They came in and redone a gas line that had been installed a few years ago, And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to keep an eye. And it had rained, it was all muddy. They cleared all this right away out. They cleaned out all these trees and cut them down and moved them out. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to keep an eye on that right away because I want, if there's any bear tracks that show up in there, I want to cast one. Well, we were out a few days ago, and I was, keeping an eye on that right away, looking for bear tracks. Didn't see anything. And we walked down the road to this. It's a dirt road. Walked down to where we always turn around. We turn around. We were walking back. On the way back, I look down, and on the road, I see bear tracks. And part of me was like, did we see, like, were those here when we came by the first time? Because we did walk kind of down the road, around the corner, and then back. So I was a little put off because I was like, were those there when we came through here the first time? And I still don't really have I'm assuming they were, but I still don't know for sure if they were. It's entirely possible that we walked down that road and the bear like crossed behind us. So yeah, it's just, there's plenty of things in Alaska to be worried about besides Bigfoot. And when you add Bigfoot into the equation, it just makes Alaska a lot creepier. So I hope you enjoyed these 3 stories. Let me know on the creep factor, what you thought about them. And I'm going to take another little short break here. And then when we get back, we're going to have our Halloween treat or trick, I guess, however you look at it. And we're going to play our Bigfoot trivia game for Halloween. So just stand by just a second for me. All right, we're back. Are you guys ready? So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you want to, of course, you certainly don't have to. You can just sit back and relax and listen. But if you want to play, grab a piece of paper or open up the notes application on your phone and get ready to record your answers. If you're in a party setting, get everybody ready with their piece of paper, pencil, pen, or their note application on their phone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to read 11 questions, and then we're going to pause. I'm going to tell you guys to pause, collect your answers, do the old grade school switcheroo thing, grade your partner's paper, whatever, however you want to do it, and then I'll give the answers. So if you're ready, go ahead and give it a pause. If you're not, if you're ready, we're going to get into it here. So these are the 2023 Alasquatch Halloween episode trivia questions. Number 1, when was the PG film filmed? The Patterson-Gimlin film. When was the Patterson-Gimlin film filmed? And I'll let you be the judge as to how detailed you want to get. Personally, I'll be happy if you get the year, but I also have the month and the day on here. So you be as nitpicky as you want to be. Number 2, what year was Port Chatham abandoned? What year was Port Chatham abandoned? Number 3, what network aired Finding Bigfoot? So what network was Finding Bigfoot on? Number 4, what year were the Bossberg Cripplefoot tracks found? What year were the Bossberg Cripplefoot tracks found? Number 5, who directed Bean's favorite Bigfoot movie, Exists? Number 5 is who directed the Bigfoot movie, Exists? Number 6, what year did The Legend of Boggy Creek release? So what year did The Legend of Boggy Creek come out? Number 7, Who wrote Raincoast Sasquatch? Who wrote Raincoast Sasquatch? That answer might actually be earlier in this episode. Number 8. What is the name of the research group founded by Matt Moneymaker? Again, what is the name of the research group founded by Matt Moneymaker? And, you know, initials are fine, or if you know what it stands for, that's fine too. Number 9, what is the name of the first documentary released by Small Town Monsters? Again, that's what is the name of the first documentary released by Small Town Monsters? And number 10, this is the final question, but there's going to be a tiebreaker. Number 10 is what year did the first Port Chatham expedition occur? And that's what year did the first Port Chatham expedition occur? This is the expedition with Stephen Major. This is the first Bigfoot expedition. So don't get confused. I'm not asking for the expedition with Nathaniel Portlock or anything like that. Not the 1700s. This is what year did the first Port Chatham Bigfoot expedition occur? And number 11, this is a tiebreaker because I noticed there's an even number of questions. I'm like, well, what if you get 5 and your opponent gets 5? So this is the tiebreaker. What is the name of Cliff Barackman's museum located in Boring, Oregon? What is the name of Cliff Barackman's museum located in Boring, Oregon? Did you like how I pronounce his name 2 different times, or 2 different ways? I've heard it both ways. All right, guys. So if you want to pause and collect your answers and swap them out, I'll give you a couple of seconds here. Okay. So here, are you guys ready for the answers? All right. So number 1, the answer for when was the Patterson-Gimlin film filmed? The answer is October 20th, 1967. So we just had the anniversary just here the other day. So October 20th, 1967. Number 2, what year was Port Chatham abandoned? 1950. It was the last resident, the postmaster. He left in 1950. Question number 3, what network aired Finding Bigfoot? This was, I think, a hard one. This is almost a trick question. So when Finding Bigfoot first aired, it was on Animal Planet, which I don't even know if it's around anymore. I don't think it is. I think they were absorbed into Discovery, maybe, but or maybe Travel Channel. But that blew my mind because I was thinking well, it's either Travel Channel or Discovery. It was Animal Planet. Number 4, what year were the Bossberg Cripplefoot tracks found? That was in 1969, so a couple of years after the PG film. 1969. Number 5, who directed Exists? That was Eduardo Sanchez. He is a very talented director. Exists is probably my favorite Bigfoot movie that's not Legend of Boggy Creek. Number 6, speaking of Boggy Creek, what year did The Legend of Boggy Creek release? That would be 1972. 1972. I almost threw a trick question in here because I thought maybe instead of asking when The Legend of Boggy Creek came out, I'll ask when did the Monster of Boggy Creek came out, or the Boggy Creek Monster come out, because that's the documentary that Small Town Monsters did, which came out in 2015, 16, something like that. And I was like, oh, that'll mess with some people. That'll get them. But I was like, no, we'll play it straight. So number 7, who wrote Raincoast Sasquatch? If you remember, I mentioned it earlier. J. Robert Alley, who also wrote Brushes with Bigfoot, where one of our stories came from tonight. Number 8, what is the name of the research group founded by Matt Moneymaker? BFRO. I think everybody should probably know that. Number 9. What is the name of the first documentary released by Small Town Monsters? And I thought I knew this off the top of my head, but I did look it up. That was the Minerva Monster, if you remember that. I'm gonna have to. I've got it on, I think, Blu-ray somewhere. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit that one. The very first one. And number 10. This is technically our final question. What year did the first Port Chatham expedition occur? And again, I'm referring to when Stephen Major and myself went and filmed In Search of the Port Chatham Hairy Man. This is not asking about when Nathaniel Portlock sailed through there. I don't even know if they know the exact dates of that, but that was 2018. That's when we went out there for the first time. I had to make sure and position the camera a certain way because I have a sticker on my laptop there that's for the 2018 Port Chatham expedition. So I was like, well, I have to move that so they can't see it. So if you were neck and neck with one of your opponents, if you have 5 questions right and they have 5 questions right, or all 10 questions right, this is a bonus question, the tiebreaker. What is the name of Cliff Barackman's museum located in Boring, Oregon? And the answer is the North American Bigfoot Center. So, all right, congratulations to all of those who got all 11 questions right. I'm kind of curious as to how you did. How hard did you think those were? I wanted a little bit of mix in difficulty there, and of course you see I kind of bounced around between movies and actual Bigfoot stuff, or lore, I guess. If you guys enjoyed that, let me know. We'll do some more stuff like that. There's a couple podcasts I like listening to where they'll play games and do stuff like that. And if you guys really enjoy that, we'll do that, and I'll get some guests on. We'll get Alex Pedikov on here or something, and we'll do some kind of Bigfoot trivia or something, or nature trivia or something. We'll have a game night or something. But I think I might start doing something like that for all our holiday episodes. I especially like the ones where you can play along at home. So let me know how you did. Throw your score in the comments there if you're watching this on YouTube. If you follow us on social media, throw your score in the comments. Let me know who won if you played in a group or teams. Let me know who beat who. And I'll give you a little shout out, a little woohoo, congratulations online. My name's Beans Baxter. You can find me on most of the social media platforms. I'm on the Facebook at Alasquatch Podcast, the X at Alasquatch Podcast. I have a TikTok where I'm on the YouTube. You can watch me stare into the mic and read these questions. I forgot. My GoPro died on me. So real quick, check me out on all the social medias: Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram. Alasquatch Podcast should be the handle on most of those. You can also come to AlasquatchPodcast.com, to the website. There's a store there. You can buy yourself some cool stuff, some tricks, some treats, books, t-shirts, stickers, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff kind of goes toward helping me keep this operation going, getting out in the field, going on little trips looking for Bigfoot, and it's much appreciated. Look forward to your support. That's it, guys. I'm out of here. So I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. Be really careful out there when you go trick-or-treating, and don't fall for any tricks.